Hey you guys, so I'm back and I have Ariel here with me and I'm in my living room just chilling out, and I decided to finally make the Q&A vlog. So I have my phone here and I'm just going to answer the questions straight from my phone. But before I do, I just want to make an introduction of how everything started and how I started to travel. I first started after I graduated college. And after I worked in film for 2 years, I worked as a producer assistant. And my job and duty was to make sure that everything behind the scenes of films and commercials was like all in order financially, as far as wardrobe goes, like everything that has to do with behind the scenes, I was involved in it. The last film I worked on was The Equalizer with Denzel Washington, and I quit because I worked 12 to 16 hours a day. And I wasn't happy after a while because I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. And I understand that you have to pay your dues before you can move on in the film industry. But after spending thousands of dollars towards my college education, I felt as though I can be doing something else more productive. And so I saved all my money from working in film for 2 years, which leaped into me being able to travel in the beginning anyways. I used those funds to see Europe. After all of that, I became a travel agent for a few months. It was okay in the beginning, but then I realized that I should be the one traveling and not doing the bookings for people. And then I became very knowledgeable towards knowing how to book flights for a good rate. And I use that to my advantage. So when I'm looking for flight deals, I'm pretty quick at it because of that. But when I went to Europe, I pretty much, did a lot of research before I went, such as how to commute back and forth through different countries, which is you go to Eurorail.com. That's where you go to use the European rail to go to different countries throughout Europe. After I did that, I tried to budget and see how expensive it would be in different countries. And when I went, it was last year, the currency exchange rate was super high for us as Americans. It was really not much of a good time, I guess you can say, to go to Europe, because I believe it was about almost 1.34 US dollars equivalent to €1, which is a little bit high, but right now is a good time to go. I believe it's 1.09 equivalent to €1. So if you decide to go to Europe, now will be a good time. My profession, a lot of people have been asking me, where do I get this money? Like, how does she get all this money? She's 23, she has a BMW, she has a nice place, I don't understand. Listen, you can have anything you want in this world if you work hard for it. It doesn't matter if you travel the world, if you do anything else. If you really want something, you'll work hard at it. Where I get my money from, okay, so I get it from my savings, like I said before, from working in film, as well as I'm a travel blogger, which means I get paid through advertisements. And I also blog for a mental psychiatric clinic, which allows me to take my job on the go. Aww. So yeah, which allows me to take my job on the go. So when people ask like, oh, how are you able to travel? Do you have to worry about work? No, it's pretty much a win-win for me personally. But if you work a 9 to 5, I can't tell you how to travel, what type of regulations your job has. Maybe you have to put in a week's notice before you decide to travel. But every job is different, so I can't speak for everybody on that. Why do you travel alone versus with a friend? From Bella_Fem1989. My friends don't have the privilege to travel as much as I do, due to the fact that some of them are still in school, and which, by the way, they're graduating, so maybe that won't be an excuse, but they work a lot, and sometimes financial situations aren't going to be the same for them as it is for me. So just because you have friends or family that aren't able to travel when you are, shouldn't stop you from seeing the world. Were you afraid your first time? If you were, how did you overcome it? From Firstborn_1. The first time I traveled alone, it wasn't scary. I was just more excited and nervous because I didn't know what to expect. But what I learned is that as a solo traveler, you have to be comfortable doing things by yourself regardless, whether you're in your own country or not. If you're not comfortable with going to the movies by yourself, going to, I don't know, out to eat by yourself, going to concerts by yourself, taking a walk through the park by yourself, you have to just learn how to do things on your own. And that's the first step before traveling by yourself. So it's no different traveling, I don't know, in London, you know, than it is in New York City. It's the same thing, you know. The only difference is the fact that you're in a different country, but you go to restaurants by yourself, you walk around by yourself, you do everything by yourself. So get comfortable in your own city, in your own state first before you venture out to another country. What made you pack your first bag and leave? Was it planned or spontaneous? From 56I83. I wouldn't say it was spontaneous, but I would say that I did it promptly, which means when I looked and found some decent deals, I traveled right away. And the thing is, if you're looking for deals in whatever place you want to visit, if you find a good deal, you should book it because it might not be there. So sometimes it's planned, sometimes it's not. Sometimes I save in advance, you know, a month in advance, and sometimes I may book it within 2 weeks after coming back from a different place. So it really depends what deals I find. What is my favorite place I have been to? From Rojo Grande. I love Canada. I love Canada. Canada is for sure my top favorite, as well as Amsterdam and Portugal. I love Portugal. I just came back from Portugal and I love it there. I wish I was there longer. And the Northwest altogether in the US is like my favorite part of the US anyways, like Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Alberta, Canada. I love California, of course, but there's no place like home, Boston, Massachusetts. But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of more places to go to determine where, you know, is my favorite place to go. But I have this app where I downloaded where I could see how much of the world I have seen, and I've only seen about 9% of the world. I want to get to like 50 before, you know, I'm a certain age. So I have a long way to go. Anyways, what is the best way to travel with my husband on a budget? From AXGST. If you're married or you have a significant other that you would like to travel with, and this can go with kids as well, it's best to plan accordingly before you leave, which means make sure that your bills are paid in advance. Let's say a month in advance. Like, make sure your rent is taken care of, make sure all your little bills are taken care of, because you don't want to come back from a trip and have this big load of responsibilities on your shoulders. So the last thing you want to do is worry about bills. You just want to relax when you get home. I know that because when I get all these email alerts saying, oh, you know, you owe student loans, it's kind of annoying. So pack light as much as you can. Be very organized. It makes things a lot easier if you're organized, so which means you need a plan in advance before you take off. If you're traveling with a baby or kids, it's best to explain to them what your plans are so they have an understanding. You should take them by the airport every now and then and like point out, you know, little planes and get them excited. Guide them through the whole TSA process when they're going through security so that they're not intimidated or scared. It's great to make sure that they get exhausted before you guys take off, which means let them carry some bags in the airport. Let them run around a little bit and make sure that they get tired. So when you're on the airplane, you can not worry about them crying and whatnot because they'll be asleep. Or if you breastfeed, for example, or, you know, I don't know, if you have formula, make sure you do that all prior to leaving. That way, you know, you don't have to worry about it all. So it's best to just stay organized. If you're married and you have a significant other and you guys want to make sure that you save on both ends and put your money together. So the great thing about traveling with people is that you can split costs. you know, and it's a little bit more affordable. If you go out to eat, you can share plates, you know. It's very efficient if you travel with other people. So if you have more questions on that, just leave it down in the comment box below. What trips can be paid off in installments before going? From Alora_be good. You can't really pay installments on planes, but you can do that with hotels. I think you can reserve hotels without having to pay for them, depending on what hotel or website you use. And for activities, say if you want to go skydiving or snorkeling, you can they usually just ask for a deposit. They don't usually ask for the full amount. So that's another installment, I guess you can say you can do. And for everything else, like transportation, you kind of just have to pay that all when you're there. Safety when traveling alone, how do you manage this? From C_XTH. You just have to use the same cautions that you do when you're in your own city. I mean, it's no different, like I mentioned earlier. You just have to make sure that you keep your eyes, you know, on your surroundings and make sure that no one is too close to you. Make sure you don't carry a big purse. If you have like a little wristlet or, you know, like one of those strap pocketbooks, that's a good idea to have when you're traveling and walking around. Don't walk at night, too late at night by yourself. If you're staying in a hostel, for instance, just make sure that you have someone, you know, that you're bunked with, go out with you for a drink or whatever. Most people don't mind. I've gone out a lot of times with people that I have the same room with at hostels. And if you're a female, you know, just use the same cautions that you use here in America or whatever country you're from. Hi Smiley, when you leave to sightsee and such, where do you keep your luggage, personal items when you stay in hostels? From __, yep, it's Nisi __. I keep all my belongings in the lockers they provide, and they also have a storage room. So if you have like a luggage or a backpack, they usually just store. Just make sure you have your own lock. What are some ideas for saving money or ways to make extra money? From Dre Gavin. It's great if you can save money weekly. So if you make a certain amount, I would take about $50 if you can a week and put that towards your traveling budget, because $50 can be easily about like 3 nights at a hostel. So it's all about budgeting and making sure that you do it and follow up with it, because it's easy to dip in your savings for something that you don't need, whether it's clothes, your nails, hats, or whatever. Just make sure that you just save, you know, money as much as you can. It doesn't matter what, because all the stuff that we spend our money on, whether it's out to eat, getting our hair done, that's travel money. All of it's travel money. So no, you don't have to be rich. I'm not rich. I'm far from rich. So I have a long way to go for me to feel comfortable financially. So like I said, I'm only 23 and I have life ahead of me. So I'm just starting now, you know, and I've made mistakes traveling. I've gone places where I should have saved more money. Switzerland was extremely expensive. I didn't know that. So it's all about trial and error, and that's what traveling is. I mean, I'm not a guru, and I never will be a travel guru. I don't consider myself to be one of those people that feel like they know everything about traveling. I just can only give advice from my experience, and hopefully they can help you guys, you know. So how can you make your family more comfortable with the idea of you traveling the world? What things should be in place in your life before traveling? From I Love You, DJ. Yeah, DJ. Try to make sure that they trust you, you know, and trust your judgment. If you're an adult, I mean, there's not much they can do besides try to give you advice on watching out for strangers and stuff like that, but you can always Skype them every day just so that they know that you're safe, and talk to them through Wi-Fi. Most hostels and hotels provide free Wi-Fi, so that shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, just tell them, you know, how much it means for you to see the world and when you get back, you can share stories with them. So maybe you might inspire them to travel. So who knows? Have you ever traveled to Nigeria? Which country are you from, and which country is your best so far? From Joy_Onuora. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. No, I haven't traveled to Nigeria, just South Africa, which I loved. Cape Town is amazing. But I wouldn't say that I would never go to Nigeria. I've always wanted to visit Nigeria as well as Uganda, and I'll be back in Africa for sure. Africa is hands down a continent that I want to explore more, so I'll be back. Did you stay in a hostel when you were in Greece? And when is the off season, the vacation in Greece? No, I didn't stay in a hostel. I stayed in a hotel. I booked my hotels through booked.com. You can get some really good deals there for hotels. And for the question, when is off season for Greece? Off season would be anywhere from like late November to May. And then after that, it gets crowded because that's when everyone's traveling. I would love to take trips, but I would like to know where and how do I start? From stylist Tavia. Sorry if I say that all wrong. I would just start with listing out physically, like get an actual piece of paper, not your phone, but an actual piece of paper, and get an actual physical map and start there. Because when you have things visually laid out for you, it's easier to organize rather than being on your phone because it's all electronic. You can't physically write and feel everything. So I would budget out what's in your bank account and what's realistic. So, you know, if you want to visit a continent, start with one continent at a time. Don't bounce back. That's never a good idea unless you have the funds for it. But, you know, work your way through, you know, the common locations, common cities in a continent, and make sure that you thoroughly understand how much it's going to cost, because you don't want to dig in your savings account if you know you can't afford it. So it's all about organization. Make sure you stay in good areas. Like, it's always best to go to a hostel that's right in the city center so you don't have to rely on public transportation too much. I try to stay in the city center because I can walk literally anywhere. Most city centers, which is the center of a city, for those who are confused, is where everything is located for the most part. Hi, how do you feel about flipping credit cards for mileage? What? From Takia fame. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm not sure if you mean, because flipping credit cards, that sounds like a scam. If you can, just make sure you put that in the comment box so I can re-answer that, because I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah. Have you ever gone to any country and felt like you were concerned about your safety? And if so, may you give us some tips on how to avoid such dangerous situations as a tourist? From the real Priska. I guess you could say when I was in South Africa, in Cape Town, I worked in the townships. There were some very dodgy areas. I highly suggest if you're in Cape Town, don't ever walk around with your phone out. There are a lot of pickpocketers, and you just gotta be careful in certain areas of Cape Town. Not all, but in some areas it can be quite dangerous. I was told that Cape Town is the most dangerous part of Africa right now, like in the whole continent. So just be very careful with your belongings. Make sure you don't ever walk around with big things and obvious things that may be important to you. So if you can, it's always best that you don't bring out your expensive iPhones. Just get like a prepaid phone at their local stores. That's always advised to do. When you travel to Africa, I know they ask that you get a visa, and they ask for you to show proof that you have funds to take care of yourself. Now my question is, there's supposed to be a certain amount that you have in your bank account. To be honest, I never had any of that issue, and this is from walking_in_increase. I never had a problem with someone asking me how much is in my account and all that. I know they do suggest that because that was part of Projects Abroad situation where they want to make sure that I can provide that, but it's not necessary. Once you're at the border, they don't really ask you that, so don't be concerned. And I don't believe I had a visa to go to South Africa. I don't think I had a visa. You don't really need a visa. And if you do, then they didn't ask me for one or any of that. So don't worry about that. Can you plan my trip? From Miss C. Jag. I don't mind, and this might be for some people who actually may want me to plan their trip. I don't mind suggesting places to go and all that. I don't know if I have the time to do like an actual planning because I'm not a travel agent anymore. But yeah, if you guys do want me to look up certain prices for you guys real quick, as far as where you guys are from and want to go, places you want to go, I don't mind doing it. Just don't expect me to get back to you like in a promptly manner because it's not my job, but I would never charge you guys for it. So yeah. How much time do you spend in a particular country to get the best feel? From IllyEB_Mitch. I spend about 3 to 4 days in each country before I get the feel of if I like it or not. Not to say that I haven't liked any country I've been to, but I must say I'm not a huge fan of Italy. There's nothing against, you know, the culture or anything because they do have amazing food. I just wasn't in love with Italy. You know, it was great to visit, but will I ever go back again? I doubt it, unless it must be a really good reason for me to go. But yeah, if I was to say, you know, how long to stay in a country, I would say 3 to 4 days to get a feel of it. How do you search for the best deals? From True Aries. And have you thought about doing a traveling group? I never thought about doing a traveling group, but I don't mind. It's gonna take a lot of organization, but also I search for the best deals pretty quickly because I was a travel agent, which means I know the best booking engines to use. It's just all about Google. Google's life, Google's everything. Best things to do in Dubai. I've never been to Dubai, and if I was to go to Dubai, it would have to be with someone because Dubai is a city in India that is all about partying and having a good time, and a lot of money is in Dubai. A lot of money is in Dubai. But I'm not too eager to rush to go to Dubai because I have my own reasons for it. But if you guys do plan on going to Dubai and you're a female, make sure you go with somebody. Don't go by yourself. Did you learn any languages while traveling? And would you consider moving to any of the countries you visited? Do you have any advice to students who would like to study abroad? From Nyla C_. I haven't learned any languages, but I do understand Spanish. Spanish is the only language that I can actually have a conversation in. And I love German. German is my favorite language, and Germany is also one of my favorite countries. I forgot to say that. And I want to say hi to my baby, Sina. Hi, boo boo. She's from Germany. That's who I visited in my vlogs. And the best advice I can give to students who want to study abroad is make sure you check with your school, I guess. They usually have programs for people who want to study abroad, but you have to make sure you are in advance. Like, make sure you reach out to them in advance before it gets booked up, because a lot of people want to study abroad. But yeah, just check with your school and see what they have, because I'm not sure how every college is. Ooh, good question. How are Black women perceived in other countries? Has language barriers been an issue for you? From Ray. I have not had any issues for being African American. The thing is, as African Americans, we're so concerned with racism because we experience it here in America tremendously, unfortunately. But in most other countries, I think people are more concerned with where you're from and not your skin color. So if I'm in France and I start speaking in English, they automatically dismiss me because I'm not speaking in French. So they're more concerned with me being an American than being Black. People automatically assume that I'm African when I'm in different countries. So I guess that's a good thing for us, is that if people do hate Americans in a certain country, they won't look at us first. They might look at a white person that speaks English. So yeah. And there haven't been any language barriers because for the most part, the people that I've met speaks English, and those who don't, they just kind of know what I'm looking for, whether it's a taxi driver, they just take me to my destination, and the awkward ride is pretty silent. There's no exchange words between us two. But other than that, when I was in Belgium, I walked up to a man to ask him for directions, and he just like walked away. That was like awkward for me, because I was just like, okay, you don't want to say anything back? All right, cool. How to get a job that allows you to travel and still be able to work? I mean, what course do I have to take to get those jobs, if that makes any sense? From beyond the hit or miss. There are plenty of jobs that give you the freedom to make your own schedule, like Instacart, Uber, those type of jobs where you make your own schedule. I don't know for sure how many jobs, but there's plenty of jobs where you can make a career out of traveling, such as being a travel aide, which means you go to different countries and care for the need, being a teacher, teaching English in different countries, volunteering, and using Peace Corps. And there's different ways. I guess you just have to Google what jobs, you know, you can find. I don't know the exact answer for that because everyone's different. So you can be a person that likes to cook a lot and you can travel and learn different dishes. I mean, there's different ways. So just research on that. But yeah, so I just want to wrap this up because I can't make this video too long. I worked my ass off to be where I'm at, and I just don't want everyone to get the idea that I have a lot of money, or that, you know, I'm lucky, or that it's impossible to see the world. Because let me tell you, I didn't have the best childhood. I didn't have parents who, you know, were financially better off, as I can say it. You know, I was in foster care for 4 years, and I didn't have, you know, the freedom that a lot of kids have, where they can just go outside and play and, you know, and do all the stuff without worrying. You know, I had a pretty rocky childhood, and I could have gone down a different route in life. I could have gotten pregnant at a young age. I could have dropped out of high school. You know, I could have been in jail. I could have been in the streets. I could have been anywhere, but I decided to take the easy route and focus on my dream, my goal. I had a lot of people to prove wrong, because I had to go against the statistics that were against me. And so I worked, and I worked. I worked at 3 fast food restaurants. I worked as a security officer. I worked doing retail. I worked at Whole Foods. I worked for Instacart, you know, and I had all these odd jobs in and out, and I was like tired of it, you know. And if you really want something, you really can do it. Unfortunately, a lot of people have these mind frames where they really feel like they can make so many excuses for themselves. And you know, there are people in the world that just do it. You know, people sell their houses, people sell their cars, people, you know, have kids and still travel and don't have much money. If it's a priority, you'll do it. Everybody has a priority, doesn't matter what it is. And people choose one thing that's important to them over something else. So it's all about maintenance and prioritizing. So Ariel's over here is knocked out. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this up, and if you guys have any questions or comments that I haven't answered, just leave them down below and I'll answer them. So peace, love, and happiness. Bye.